Joining us now, Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn. Senator Blackburn, welcome to the show. Are you satisfied with what you've heard from President Biden, or frankly, what we haven't heard from President Biden? We did hear from the Defense Secretary earlier today.
Dagen, every time they open their mouth, they have a new position and we have more questions. Every time something happens, they wait to see how the wind is blowing and then they shift their position depending on what direction that wind is blowing. They've been caught on this. They know they've been caught. They spotted this balloon, the first one, off the coast of Alaska. They could have taken it down. They chose not to. Goes into Canada, goes into Montana. A citizen with a high-def lens and access to the local paper's website takes a picture, puts it up, says, what does somebody know about this? And lo and behold, then the White House decides to say something. And then Anthony Blinken decides to cancel his trip over there. It took 3 days for the Communist Chinese to say, we don't want to talk to him. But here's the thing. They know that Joe Biden is weak. This would never have been tried under President Donald Trump and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, because Xi Jinping knew there would be hell to pay if he tried to pull off something like this. And you couple this with what is happening with TikTok, with what has happened with Huawei, with the way that they're bullying Taiwan and the Pacific Island nations, with how they're carrying out a genocide on the Chinese people, on the Uyghurs, how they've treated the Mongolians, the Tibetans, how they've treated the Hong Kong freedom fighters, how this weekend with the Philippines, they decided to go bully them too. China is aggressive. They are not our friend. They are not a friendly competitor. They are an adversary, and it is time for this White House to show that they realize that.
You know, Senator, I disagree with this president on a lot of issues, but I wish he would take our security seriously. The problem is I don't believe him. When you let that Chinese spy balloon fly over sensitive American military sites and take all the information they want, and then you shoot it down, and couple with that the southern border, where there's an 800% increase in Chinese coming across that border and everyone else from around the world, can you believe that they actually take American security seriously?
Oh, not at all, Sean. I mean, look at this. When you have an 800% increase in Chinese that are trying to come in illegally, when you have Chinese police stations in the United States, and they are surveilling and auditing and tracking their citizens that are here in our country. When you have these Confucius Institutes on college campuses, and thank goodness Tennessee has disallowed these things. I mean, look at what they're doing. They say this is their soft propaganda, and going onto these college campuses and trying to say it's a cultural exchange. No, it is not. This is all part of their surveillance. If anybody doubts this, go read the book, The 100-Year Marathon. This is what they're up to. They've said time and again, the 21st century is to be the Chinese century. They want to globally dominate us by 2050. This administration needs to get smart, and instead of worrying about climate change, instead of worrying what the Chinese Communist Party thinks about us, they need to be saying, you are not going to invade our sovereignty, whether it is land, air, or sea. We're not going to stand up for that.
Well, instead of hearing from President Biden, one of his spokespeople has been Chuck Schumer over the weekend, quite frankly. And Senator, there's been much talk about the divide between Democrat voters and party leaders with desire for President Biden to run in 2024. But I want to play a clip from Senator Schumer on The View defending some recent poll numbers. Listen to this.
I think first, you can't always believe polling.
Thank you.
Hey, there was a poll in 1983 that said Ronald Reagan would get clobbered. And of course, he won a huge victory. But second, I think part of it is that we now have to make sure the American people, they've read what we have done, but they haven't seen it.
What? They sure as heck have seen it. Pardon me, I almost cursed there. They see it every time they walk into a store. And I do have a theory, and I will shut up. But this information vacuum on these objects that have been shot out of the sky, you know what? Nobody is talking about the fact of the financial hardship on people. Everybody is just continuing to speculate about these flying objects. They're not talking about classified documents. They're not talking about inflation. They're not talking about the debt ceiling, right?
You're right about that, exactly, because people are so concerned about the surveillance. When it comes to Joe Biden's policies, I can't find a Tennessean who will come up and say, my life is in so much better shape, my pocketbook is fatter because of Joe Biden and his policies. Every time you go to the grocery store, you see the effect of Joe Biden's policies. Every time you fill up the car or the truck, or go to get diesel for the tractor, you see the effect of Joe Biden's policies. When you pay the electric bill, you for sure see the effect of Joe Biden's policies. People are spending more to live. The average Tennessee family is spending $629 a month more just to tread water. And this adds up over the cost of the year. Joe Biden being president, at the end of the year, it had already cost him $10,000, and the number keeps going up. They see the effect of these policies, and the more they see, the less they like.
You know, Senator, just like Tennessee or Virginia or Wisconsin, America is getting crushed. Well said. And thank you for joining us on The Bottom Line. We appreciate it.
You got it.
So kind of you. All right.